Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Slow tonight in the chat, huh? This Bill got in first again. How about that, Bill? Bill's back on top. I don't even see Hobie around, so he must have taken his victory lap and taken a Friday night off, I guess. Anyway, Bill, good job. You got in there first by a stretch. Kahuta, always right around nap time, he says. Whole family is sick. That's terrible. There's a lot of that going around. A lot of that going around for sure. Johnny Stansel is here. Dang, you guys are fast. Yep, they're on it. You gotta get here quick. HB Jeff is here from Canada. Keith from Massachusetts just made it home in time to watch the show after a round trip to the airport. Looks like some family went to Florida, huh? It's kind of cold here. We're all the way down to 50 right now. I don't know what's up with that. We've had days where it's been 80, like 85 already. So seeing 50, it's kind of weird. Four Eyes is here. How you doing, my friend? Glad you could make it. Jay Maselli is here. Hello. Mr. FMG010. Hello, everyone. He says, Jerry Gunn hoping for better weather soon. Yeah, you know, we're going to have some good weather this weekend, but sadly, the field is going to be closed. We're going to, they have a DLG event this weekend, so we can't fly. I'm a little bummed out, man, to be honest with you. Dan Griffiths is here. How you doing, Dan? Miss Laura Harth is here. Hello, Laura. Glad you could make it. And Rodeo Pilot, hello from Longwood, Florida. Good to see you, Rodeo Pilot. Glad you could join us. All right. So, yeah, we had Valentine's Day last weekend, which was nice. A little romance in the air. Everybody hopefully took care of your girls, did a little something special, maybe had a nice dinner and whatever, presents, right? Flowers, candy, cake, that kind of stuff. I know I did. I did well. I did it right. I took care of my girl. So anyway, hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day, and back to business here on the 21st. Now, Johnny says it's 28 in North Carolina. That's a big, I'm gonna go with the big old no thank you. No. That's not for me. I used to be okay with that, but I got to be honest with you, man. Not for me. I'm kind of tired of that. Hey, do me a favor. I've been messing around with the audio a little bit. If you guys give me an audio check, let me know. Too loud, too soft? Is it crispy? Sound okay? Let me know. Just let me know in the comments. So anyway, after the Valentine's Day, kind of an off week on the videos, although the videos that went up were big ones. So I kind of left them. To be honest, you guys know how that works, right? With YouTube, if you get a video that's getting traction, you kind of want to leave it alone. So I didn't do a really heavy video week in the last week and a half because the videos that I put up there were they were clocking, man. You know what I mean? They were clocking. So the Express LRS 4.0 thing, that got a lot of traffic. And then I would say the EdgeTX release candidate 1 for 2.11, that one got a lot of traffic, and it still is actually hauling down the hits. So I wanted to leave those up as long as I could, and so I did. And then, of course, the PilotJam. That's next. Now, that said, thanks, Mr. FMG. He says sound is good. 25 degrees in Greenville, Texas. What the hell, man? Are you getting snow down there? I got some friends in Texas. I talked to them today, and they said they were getting snow. And nobody knows what to do with it. I know in Florida we don't know what to do with snow. We just hope it melts. Go away, snow. Anyway. Given that the video material was down, there was still a great deal of activity. I had kind of a banner week when it came to airframes. I think, I don't want to say it's like the culmination of my RC experience, but it's kind of like the culmination of my RC experience. And what I mean by that is that if you follow my channel, if you've been a fan of the channel at all, and you watch my flying or you hear me talking videos, my favorite all-time airframe right now is the Extreme Flight Laser. And I have a couple of different copies. I had the 60-inch. Dave got that airplane. I got the 67-inch. I've got the 74-inch. The 85-inch has been out of stock for a long time. And I've been waiting for that airplane to show back up. And it finally did show up, and I grabbed it. And it just arrived this week. So I got the 85-inch laser. And I've been waiting for that plane for a while. I put my pennies in my piggy bank for that one. So, you know, I saved my money. I had money ready for that plane because when it happened, when it did release and when it hit the stock, I wanted to take advantage of it. And so the 85-inch laser is now in my possession, and Dave will be building that plane for me. So he's gonna put that one together. We're gonna talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some higher end airplane designs So that's what we're going to spend some time on tonight. I thought that would be an interesting subject area. So Dave will be putting that one together. And then the other one that happened, and it's another one that I've been looking at. I've been looking at different avenues for content. And I got to be honest, this is an airframe that I've thought about for some time. And I've had it in the cart, out of the cart. And I finally decided to pull the trigger because they put it on sale. And that airframe is the 90mm Avanti. It's a composite. The composite, this is the actual Seabart airframe by Seabart. And it's a composite design. It's got balsa wings, composite fuselage, and it's a beautiful airframe. The color scheme is fantastic. It's blue and white. Discord, the guys on Discord got to look at it. So if you guys aren't on Discord, you got to get there. And I did a little bit of a picture show and took some pictures and put them in the fixed wing channel for the laser and in the Jets channel for the Avanti. I just did a little, kind of like a little unboxing snapshot thing and put it out there in Discord for the guys there. So anyway, check that out. And then, we'll talk about those builds tonight. We're going to spend some time on that. So 2 airframes in the works, and I said it's kind of a banner moment because they both arrived in the same day of all things. And they're both really like, as far as fixed wing 3D planes, the 85 inches is like my biggest now. It's my biggest and best 3D plane. And the Avanti, that's the 90mm at this point in time. That will be tied for the largest airframe, but certainly the nicest one because of the composite. It's a composite design with the fiber or the balsa wings. So beautiful airframe. I ordered the EDF from Fanjets. I think it's Fanjets in the U.S. It got a JP Hobby 90mm 8S. It'll be getting an 8S set up, so we'll talk about that in a little while. But anyway, that's what's coming. So there's work to do, no flying this weekend, and there's build work to do. So it's probably going to be another slow week on the videos. I'm just prepping you guys, right? It's probably going to be a slow week. I think I'll get some unbox material together, and then after that, we'll get the build recaps done and the maidens done, and fly the hell out of them. I'm sure that the laser will be fun, and I'm sure the Avanti will be amazing. So that's it. That's what I've been up to this week. So it hasn't been, believe it or not a lot of video content, but man, has there been a bunch of activity in the back office, so to speak, getting ready. So with that said, let's move on to next up. So programmers. I'm going to talk a little bit about programmers. I'm looking at comments. Philip Jang is here from Australia, down under. How you doing, Philip? Glad you can make it. Johnny 28 in North Carolina. He says, Mr. FMG 25 in Greenville, Texas. Yeah. And a little bit of snow. That's it. You guys are quiet tonight, man. No chatty Cathys out there. What's going on? I'm not hearing a lot of chitter chatter in the airwaves. All right, fine. Let's go to work. We'll work instead. All right, programmers. We're going to talk a little bit about programmers. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to let you guys know one of the best things about a YouTube channel is sponsorship in terms of getting equipment. So when I got the Avanti, I reached out to High Tech and I said, hey, could you guys... would you like to sponsor the airframe? That's the question you ask. Would you like to sponsor it? And if you would, I'll use the logo, High Tech. I'll put it in the videos and let people see, and I'll show them what I'm using, show them the servos and the equipment. And we'll talk a little bit about the hardware. So High Tech was very gracious to sponsor the Avanti. And they did that with 7 of these D85 MG servos, which was just brilliant. And yeah, it needs 7, so 7 of them. You've got flaps, aileron, elevator, rudder, and 2 aileron, 2 flaps, 2 elevator, and 1 rudder. So that's how you get to 7. So I was really grateful when High Tech sent me these D85 MGs. There's the tag. And we'll take a look at the specs. Let's do that now. So I'm just going to switch over here. We'll look at the High Tech stuff first. Here is the link, and there is a link in the description for these servos if you're interested in these. And spec-wise, they're 6-volt servos. They get about 60 ounce-inches of torque, and then 4.3 kilograms if you're living somewhere besides the United States or Liberia, the only 2 countries on the planet that still use a stupid imperial system, which we switch away from and go to the metric system like normal people. And then... let's see, I'm going to reject all cookies. And then let's see, physical specs. These are 22-gram servos, 32-bit programmable. They've got that slow start technology, which is super, super cool. If you guys haven't messed with that soft start or slow start tech, it's really nice, man. I'm not going to lie. I feel a little hoity-toity when I turn on an airplane and it's got the slow servo movement up. Instead of going snap, it just kind of goes, it's really cool. So these have that feature. And, you know, what's more important to me was I went out to the forums and asked around, and this seemed like a pretty good servo for that jet. So that's how I landed on those. And then High Tech, of course, is gracious enough to sponsor. And, okay, so that's the High Tech stuff. Now, let's go back to the camera. We'll talk a little bit about the Theta. The Theta servos, these are for the laser. And these are some legitimately high-end, beefy servos. Link is in the description if you like to check them out, if you'd like to get them for yourself. But these are, I'll bring up the web page. There's no way we're going to read that print. Maybe you can read it. I don't know. Can I see it on camera? Is it going to focus? A little bit. 8.4 volts up to 50, what does that say, 52 kilograms? Look, that's pretty strong. And then 0.12 seconds, it's for 60 degrees of travel at 8.4 volts. So these are no joke servos. I also want to point out, notice that they say NFC right there. That stands for Near Field Communications. So if you have an Android phone, you can program these servos with your Android phone. Now, I have an Android phone. I downloaded the app, I installed it. I could not get past the authentication. For some stupidly annoying reason, they want you to register an account in order to program your servo, which drives me nuts. It just makes me crazy that you have to do that. I just want to program my servo. I'm not looking for a date. I don't want a date. I'm not looking for you to get my phone number and collect my information and get my email. I just want to program my stupid servo. So I'm a little annoyed about the application from Theta. Stop it. Stop. Just let me program my servo. But anyway, that's one method is near field communication. I was really interested in doing that. Could not get past the authentication. These are high voltage servos too. And I got the programming card. So what I wanted to do, if you remember back on the desktop, the first segment. Oh, no, before we do that, I want to show you the specs. Let's do that. We'll go to the workspace, take a look at the specs. And the Razor, I think I showed him on the box, right? 52 kilograms at 8.4 volts, and you're looking at 0.12 seconds for 60 degrees of travel at 8.4. And on the low end, it's still 0.14, which is still really fast, and 42 kilograms at 6 volts. So, yeah, these are definitely high-end servos, and I want to just make it clear. Thank you to Theta USA, link in the description, and High Tech for sending the servos out for the laser. And by the way, just to show you they mean business, they're not messing around. There are 5 servos required for an 85-inch. You have the AETR, but there's 2E. So so you got 2 on the elevator, 2 on the elevator, 2 on the aileron, and then 1 on the rudder. And of course, if you're a gasser, then you need a 6th one for throttle. I'm not going to be a gasser. So this plane will get 5 servos. So I just, again, want to say thanks to Theta and High Tech for sending these servos out for review. They're going to go on the planes, and we're going to fly them, and we're going to have a good time. And I can tell you right now that the servos, they're legit, man. These are high-end servos. So good equipment. Okay, now that was the intro. That was the warm-up. So I'm going to go back to the desktop, and I said this topic was programmers. So that was the lead-in to the topic. Now let's talk about the reason for the video. It's a complaint, and it's not, I want to be clear, I'm not picking on Theta, and I'm not picking on High Tech. I mean, why would I do that? They sponsored the video. This is just general commentary in general about programmers. And I want to show you guys something. I saw a comment. Who was it? Johnny. He said, I still use the High Tech DPC-11. Funny you mentioned that, Johnny, because there it is, DPC-11. Isn't that amusing? Like, I have that. That works with Windows, by the way. You can plug a servo in. There's a little Windows app. It's not focusing because it sees background stuff. It's confused. So there it is. It plugs into your computer. A little PC program allows you to program the servo. It works. It's cool. It's cool. It's a neat thing. But here's the gripe. Here is my Hobbywing ESC programmer. Here is my, this is the Hobbywing multifunction LCD program box, also for ESCs. This is my ZTW programmer. This is my AM link for AM116, BL Heli programming. This is Hobbywing for like fly funds. Here's a ZTW Bluetooth programmer. Here's another ZTW Bluetooth programmer. We got the Sunny Sky programmer. And then for servos, I've got the high-tech programmer, and I've got the Theta programmer. So, and the DPC programmer. So here's the beef. This is something, I'm not sure what manufacturers watch my videos, but I know some of them do. And I would say, here's my challenge to you. And by the way, open source. Why can't we just have one box? Why do I need all this crap? And it, look, it's not the money. This whole thing, I don't know. If you just said these are $25 a piece on average, what do you have in this? 100 and 150 bucks? Fine. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If one company came out with a box and said, hey, this box is 125 bucks. But with this box, you can program every servo you have and every ESC you have. I would buy it instantaneously. I'd buy one for Dave. I'd buy one for Fred. And I'd buy 5 of them to give away on the show. Because it's just really freaking annoying to me that we have to have so many different apparatus to program our stuff. Now, let me show you why. I'm like a reasonably smart guy. I can find my way around on software. I kind of know what I'm doing. But let me show you why. Okay, first off, what's the input voltage on this thing? We got to solve that problem, right? Let's assume it's 5 volts because it's going to do a standard servo. So I'm just going to plug a BEC in. Okay, so 5 volts. So there's my programmer. Great. Now I'm going to plug where does the servo plug into this thing? Oh, it's over here. You see my point? I'm already having to learn new stuff, right? So, okay, servo plugs in here. Great. Let's plug that in. Hope I don't break something or bend something. But there we go. That's in there. Now I can go in and say, let's do auto testing for let's check the settings and make sure it's not in gyro mode. Like that's important. This is not a gyro setting, right? This is a wideband servo. So we need to go from 900 to 2100. So let's make sure of that. And then we can put it in test mode. And I think that's here. This says DB. I guess that's deadband. Here's auto testing. Oh, look, there it goes. Auto extreme. We can do, let's click on that. And then, whoops, let's click on it. Come on. And now we'll change the speed and we'll say, we can change the speed value and hit go and, hit pause. And you have to learn the interface. You see my point? Like I can figure this stuff out. It's not that hard. I can navigate around. I can say, okay, there's the manual settings. So I can use a dial and, test my servo and make sure it's spinning right. I can do all that stuff. It's not that hard to figure out, but it's another box. Now, why wouldn't that work on this one? So on this guy, by the way, it's got 2 holes up here. There's an input, and I'm pretty sure that's for a BEC. Although I haven't tried it. Let's see. Signal. I know one of these is marked signal. Oh, it's on the back. So there's the signal on the back, and there's I. I'm assuming that means input. So hopefully I don't blow up my card, but I'm going to risk it live for you guys. I'm just going to assume that I'm right. So I'll plug that in, and I got a light. Okay, so I was right. Yay for John. Now I'll get a servo out. Let's take this guy out of the box. This, by the way, is not a fault of the programmer. This is just hardware, but of course. So we'll plug this in now. And let's see, signals on the inboard. So we need to make sure that's lined up right. Okay, good. That's lined up right. Now I'm looking at this interface, and I got to figure out, okay, how does this work? So I press down. What does that do? I don't know what the heck that... Oh, it's just showing me how to connect. That's kind of cool. I'll admit that I played with this already, so I have an idea. So I can say, if I want to test it, what this means is these boxes relate to the buttons on the screen. So in is this button, program is this button, and then test is this button. So if I hit test, I can either exit or set parameters. So if I hit down, I can set parameters. And I know the screen's complaining. But we say mode normal. We can set the high pulse width, the mid pulse width, and the low pulse width if we want to do that. So, oh, and by the way, you can also set in here. This is setting the center point of your servo, so you can do that if you want to adjust it. You know, if it's not quite exactly right based on your mechanical linkage, you can set that. Actually, you don't set it here. I don't think. I think you set it somewhere else. But the point is you can program it. So you set that, and now you can say use these buttons to do the test. So if I click here, here, and here, it sets the movement of the servo, right? So if I push this button, the servo's all the way clockwise. Now if I push the middle, now it's in the middle position that I just set. And if I press the right button, it goes all the way to the right. I mean, it's functional. So it's not that big of a deal. Oh, no, let's take a look at the programming. Let's take a look at that. I'll hit the middle button and I'll read from the servo. And there I can see my servo values. So I can come down and say, well, I'm going to reverse this servo. So I click the button. Oh, nope, I don't click the button. Now I got to write to the servo. And then we exit. And then we have to program again and read from the servo. And scroll back down. Let's try that reverse thing again. Oh, there it is. Like you press the right button. Now I'm reversed. And then after you're done, you press this button and then you write to the servo. And that will reverse the servo. So the point is, it's not that hard. I've only just started touching this box today. It's not a big deal. And again, I'm not picking on Theta and High Tech. This is across the board. Everybody does this. Why can't we have, it's a problem. Why can't we have a single box that will program all of our stuff? I don't get it. So it's a complaint, and I think it's an opportunity. For all my open source friends out there, and any of the manufacturers that listen to my videos, I'm going to challenge you guys. Like, why can't we standardize this stuff? It occurs to me when I look through my stash these days that I've got programming apparatus coming out the wazoo. I've got dongles and boards and programming boxes and centering tools. And I mean, I got stuff coming out my ears. And I'd love it if we could find a way to standardize at least some of these capabilities so that we don't have to learn a new interface and keep track of a whole bevy of, tools in our toolboxes. Now, let's be clear. Do you need to have this? No, you don't need to have it. However, I can tell you, if you have ever set up a model and you're trying to get everything just right, it's really cool to be able to set parameters like the center point of the servo or to reverse the servo in its programming versus on your radio. That way you don't have to do things like trim. Like you can cheat a little bit and use the servo to get everything centered exactly perfect. And then you don't have any trims or sub trims on your radio. And it's a little bit more in line with what I would say the enthusiasts insist on, so that you're ensured full sweep width, everything's equal on both sides of center of the movement. A lot of reasons to have it. But is it absolutely essential? No. You can work on the physical aspect, which is what they did before all this programmable business came along in the first place, right? That's what they did. Everybody made sure everything was mechanically perfect. And then, we worried about flying the plane. So at any rate, we have programming tools available. Do you need them? No, but they're nice to have. They do make your life easier setting up a model. And it would be wonderful if the next generation of equipment in the hobby standardized on a single box. Let me program all of my ESCs, no matter what they are, all of my servos, no matter what they are, and anything else that needs programming. I'd even argue, why not Express LRS? Why can't I see my binding phrase on here? Why not? So anyway, that's that. That was that. It was. I just want to throw it out there and maybe put a challenge out there. Let's see if maybe someone's working on it already. What do I know? I don't know. We'll see. All right, that's it for the programmers. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the laser. The reason I wanted to talk about the laser, and I told you guys I was going to do something a little bit different tonight, And I wanted to show you, give you an idea of, you know, when I first got into the big planes, one thing that I wasn't really sure about was all the supporting equipment that goes in. And I don't even have it all here, but I'm going to show you some of it to give you an idea, if you're interested in these big planes, what you're up against. Because, you know, they're different. They're different animals than like the plug-and-play foamies. They're heavier, they're faster, they're more violent when they fly. So you need, we'll start out with, you know, higher end servos. Like, in order to get everything out of them that you want, you need the servos, right? That's an important part. That was a big pill for me to learn to swallow, because I always looked at $10 servos and thought they were expensive. Rodeo Pilot says, yeah, it's the Laser 12S. It is definitely 12S. It'll be, I believe it'll be 12S 4000s in that one. But anyway, there's the servos. That's important. Another one, this thing kind of annoyed me. It still does. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of annoys me to buy these. That's $75. Like, I've had airplanes that cost me $85 delivered. So my Millennium Master, $85 delivered. This was $76 just for the spinner. But it's a carbon fiber spinner. It's got a nice thin aluminum backplate. They're always perfectly balanced. And they're color matched to the plane. So I'll admit it's a little bit of an extravagance, but you know, if you're going to fly these planes, they're the best planes you've got. You kind of want them to look the part, right? So that's the spinner. Now you can find these generic. Dave's got a website that he gets these on. The name escapes me, but he buys generic versions. They're a little cheaper, $35, $40. But this is a pretty good size spinner. I think this is a 4.5 inch for a 60 cc. Yeah. So it's kind of, they're a little big, you know. There's my hand, there's a spinner. It's a pretty good size spinner. So spinners, that's an add-on that you're not accustomed to. And then another one, this is another little add-on part that goes into one of these big builds, and they're standoffs. So when you set these motors up, I like the extreme flight standoffs, because first off, they tell you what size to get for their models. That's the first thing. And the second thing you'll notice is that they've got the tips of them are cut. So they've got different sizes. You can remove all of these extensions. So if you needed the motor to be from here to here, you can do that. Or you can use these spacers to get the exact length you want and then finish it off with the bolts. So these standoffs, they're what you use to connect the motor to the firewall. And every big plane I have has them. And I think the reason for that is because the electric power plants are more compact than the internal combustion versions. So you have to eat up that space with a standoff when you're doing electric. And of course, mine are all electric. So that was it on the Laser. I just wanted to show you on the bigger planes. Oh no, I had one more thing. Sorry. Here it is. This one. This is the prop. So this is the, I got this prop. This is a badass prop. This is, and I'm not saying badass isn't an adjective. It's a name. That's what they name it. It's badass. See, badass prop. And you can imagine on the Laser, this will look fantastic, because the Laser is white, red, and blue. And that's the black prop, white tips, badass. I love their props. They're very good. Always well balanced, always very strong. They look fantastic. This one is a 2410 prop. So it wasn't just the prop. That's another one that kind of I had to get a little bit used to, is spending $30, $40 on a prop, right? Because it's just, it's it's a big plane. What can you say? But here's the part that I wanted to show you, and I put a link to these in the description as well. These are Exor neoprene prop covers. So if you're going to drop, you know, $40 on a nice prop, the last thing you want to do when you're carrying it and moving it in and out of your car, putting it on your rack, you know, when it's out at the field, is get it nicked up, right? You don't want to damage the leading edge or the trailing edge. That'd be bad, right? You don't want to get it out of balance and lose power, stress crack, you know, whatever. So you can get these Zor prop covers. Again, link in the description if you want to get some for yourself. You get these on Amazon. Now, I just want to let you guys know, it's not lost on me. My OCD is not happy about this. I don't like the idea of a badass prop and a Zor prop cover. So I contacted the owner of Innovative Designs. They're the ones that sell the badass product line. And I said, hey, you guys need some prop covers with the badass logo on it. And he wrote back to me and said, hey, that's cool. I'm going to look into that. So hopefully, I'm just telling you guys, if you see them, if you go to Innovative Designs and look for a badass prop and you find a badass neoprene prop cover, You heard it here first. I asked for it, and hopefully he does it. I told him I'd buy him. My OCD does not like this, but my OCD does not like cracked props even more. So I'll put the Zor cover on there, and I'll live with it, right? And it doesn't look terrible. It's a nice looking prop cover. It looks good. So Zor prop covers, Amazon, and they have all kinds of different sizes too. That one, again, that's a 2410, right? That's what I said. Yeah, 2410. And you get other sizes too. This one's for, there's 5 different sizes, and I think this one covers like 18 to 21 inch or something like that. So you can get these on Amazon. They're fairly cheap, like $10 for the little ones, and I'd be about $18 for the big ones. So yeah, $18 just for a prop cover, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is stuff on the bigger stuff, the bigger models you don't really think about on that you get on the small planes, right? You just don't deal with that. So anyway, that I just wanted to show you guys as I was getting ready to build an 85-inch laser that there is some expense in these bigger ones that you don't really see on the small planes. All right, it's just not out there. You don't have those same expenses. Okay, that's it for the laser. Now, the next topic, I'm going to go back to the desktop. We're going to do something very similar. Did I misspell it? No, I didn't misspell it. We're going to do the same thing for the Avanti. The Avanti it's a composite 90 millimeter jet. Now, the big turbine guys are going to be like, yeah, whatever. You know, they are. But this is my biggest DDF. It's my biggest jet. The 90 millimeter. I have the 90 millimeter FMS foamy, but this is the biggest jet I have, and it's an EDF. It's a composite. They're heavy. You know, not. I don't think they're going to be any heavier than say the foamy, and I'm not saying that. But when I designed the system for this one, I thought let's make sure we get everything right. So of course we'll start with the motor. This is a Platinum V5 ESC, and I don't have the EDF to show you, unfortunately. There's a 120 amp ESC, and this is going to be this is an 8S setup. So this one is good for, I think it's good for up to 10S, I think. I don't think it says it on the box. No, I don't think it does. Anyway, it is good for up to 8S. I already checked that. So 120 amp ESC, V5, that's the new one. But here's the new stuff. Well, first off, I'm just going to show you guys, I eat my own dog food. So this will get an Express LRS ER8 and 8 channels because we're adding a little bit of extra goodies to this plane. In addition to the 7 servos I talked about earlier. Now, you remember when I talked about servo centering with the programmer tool? Think about the elevator. Like if you get everything set up and connected, and your elevator, you have 2 elevator servos and they're not quite right, one's just a little bit off, you could use the servo tool, the programmer, to set the center, and you can adjust it that way. And then your radio, you can use 1 channel instead of 2. Now on a radio, of course, you can set the subtrim. Of course you can. Of course you can. But if you don't have to, you know, if you can use just 1 channel for the elevator, why not? Now, maybe you want 2 channels for the elevator. Maybe you want to do some really crazy rifle rolls or something. So you have the elevators linked to your ailerons or something. Who knows? I don't know. You guys are crazy. You do all kinds of crazy stuff. But if you don't want to do that, you can save a channel using a programmer to make sure everything's perfectly dead nut center before you start programming. At any rate, I'll be using the Radiomaster ER8. That'll be going in the Avanti with the Hobbywing Platinum and then the high-tech 85 MGs. But here's the new stuff, right? Let's talk about what's new. This is new. I've never used one of these before. In fact, I didn't even know they existed. And I don't necessarily think they're required for the servos. I'm not suggesting that, but you know, you've got servos, you've got flaps, you've got landing gear, and with a device like this, you can double it up with your onboard BEC and have a redundant input. So you could use this one as a secondary and this one as a primary. And this one's also controllable. So 3 to 18S LiPo. It's got a power on-off switch. You can tap directly into your main battery, and it's got a couple of dip switches that let you set the voltage. So we'll be using the Hobbywing 25 amp UBEC on this one, and this is good for 8S. By the way, the battery on this model also sponsored by China Hobbyline. They're providing the 8S batteries that I'll be using in this model. So 8S 5000s, those will be provided by China Hobbyline. So 25 amp UBEC by Hobbywing. And then the next thing that I want to show you that was a little unusual, haven't done this before. This is new to me. If I can get the bag open. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. If I can't, we'll have to stare at it through the bag, which would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? I've never done this before. I've never had this on a model before, but these are electric brake wheels. So the Avanti, it's going to get, you know, there are the wheels. They've got wiring that goes to this brake controller. So you connect the brakes here, and then you provide power. And now you can add a channel on your radio. I'll probably use a slider to have brakes for the model. So as you're coming into land, if you come in a little bit hot, no big deal. You just turn the brakes on. You just squeeze the brakes and it'll slow it right down for you. So we're going to try that. That's new. So that's on the Avanti. See, the Avanti, the composite, I'll tell you, you know, one of the reasons I held off on it for so long is one thing if you put a foamy in, because the foamies are not that bad to replace, right? They're not that bad. But you don't want to put a composite jet in. You definitely do not want to do that. So I've been thinking about, you know, with a little extra investment in the system that goes in this one, that, you know, first off, we have a high amperage, high voltage power source that we can make redundant with the BEC on the ESC, right? That's good. And then the brake system. If you've ever flown EDFs, you know you don't get a lot of chances. So, you know, first couple times you come down, if you're coming in hot, you really don't want to run off the end of the runway if you can avoid it. So I thought brakes would be a nice little add-on. So the theory is as long as you can get it on the ground, you can get control of it after that fairly quickly. So we're going to try it out. Then, of course, the name brand servos. I didn't want to mess around. I actually thought about putting some cheaper Emax servos in, but honestly, I wanted a brand I could trust. So I went with Hi-Tech. Not that Emax has given me a reason not to, but I know for a fact I can trust Hi-Tech. I know that. So that's the setup on the Avanti. I thought I would give you guys just a look at some of the unusual stuff rather than just the mundane. Well, of course it's got a motor. Of course it's got a battery. Of course. I figured it'd be fun to see what would be the exception this time more than the rule. So that was the Avanti. You guys are so quiet tonight, man. I'm not seeing a whole lot. Let's see. Johnny says, I use a Hi-Tech DPC. We covered that. Mike Morales came in halfway through the show and said first. And then said, oh, man, I'm really late. Yeah, you are. Rodeo Pilot, 85-inch laser 12S. We covered that. And 4i says, not to mention push rods. Yeah, the push rods are something special, too. No doubt. Johnny says, the nice thing about Extreme Flight is you only have to buy it once. Their product is top-notch. It is. I violently agree with that comment. I think... I've look at the raw. You know, that's one thing the channel has been a real blessing is I've had the opportunity to fly what I consider to be some of the best equipment in the world that you can buy in the hobby. And I think Extreme Flight is the top tier. And I think Skywing's right there with them. And I think AJ is right there with them as well. I haven't flown Pilot, so it's not it's not an incrimination of Pilot RC. It's just what I know. So Skywing, AJ, Extreme Flight, all top shelf. Very good stuff. Okay. So that is it for that part. I'm caught up on comments. You guys are really quiet tonight. All right, let's talk about gender benders. This is a Dave. Dave came up with this one. So all the credit to Dave. And the reason he came up with it is because he does his batteries wrong. So you guys do Velcro. This is the fuzzy Velcro, right? I do Velcro on my batteries. That's the fuzzy Velcro, which means on my model, I have this. This is the I don't. It's hook and loop, right? I'm not sure which. I think this is the hook. I'm pretty sure that's the loop. Pretty sure this is the hook. This is the hard stuff, right? It's the scratchy. That one scratches your skin. So that's what I put down on my models, right? So here's my model. I tape this stuff down, and then I take my battery. It's got the soft stuff, right? The loop. And I set that down, and now my battery is attached to the model. And, of course, you run a strap around the top, right? That should be familiar to everybody. So you peel that off when you're done, and, you know, Bob's your uncle, right? Everybody's happy. Now, here's the problem. If you have a friend that does it wrong, like Dave, he puts the loop on the airframe, then on his battery, he puts the hook. So he has this. This is his model. It does the same job, but he's backwards, right? He's backwards from the way John does it, which is the correct way. So I'm just teasing Dave. He knows I'm teasing. So I'm not picking on him. I love Dave. He's a good friend. Yeah, a good friend. Okay, but the problem is if you're out flying with friends and you have this scenario, what do? Well, Dave came up with, being Dave being Dave, he said, hey, I'm going to make a little tool to solve this problem. And what he did was, okay, so this is Dave's model, right, with the fuzzy on the bottom. And this is John's battery with the fuzzy on the battery, right, the loop on the battery and loop on the model. What Dave did was he took some hook and he said, well, what if we just did this? That's what I love about Dave. He's a creative guy. He's a very creative mind. He said, what if we just did this? What if we just took this thing and bent it in half like that? Now, of course, you want to make it the right size for your stuff. And we just keep that in our toolbox. This is called a gender bender. All I did was I took the hook, folded it on top of itself. It's that thin, right? It's that thin. And now that goes on the battery and it also goes on the model. And you strap it in and Bob's your uncle, right? It's a perfectly good solution. Super cheap solution to do. And it's nice if you fly with friends that do it the wrong way. So gender bender, and you can do both, right? You can do the hook and you can do the loop. So no matter what, you have the ability to change the gender of your battery. Isn't that cool? RC video reviews, man. You hear this stuff here first. Who else does this? Like who else does this? I don't think anybody else does this because they don't have Dave. I have Dave, so I win, right? So anyway, that's a great trick. Obviously, you want to make sure they're the length of the battery, you know. So make them, you know, you gotta cut a piece that double that long, fold it over, because otherwise it wobbles, right? And you also want to make sure they're the same width. So because again, otherwise they'll wobble. So there you go. Nice little trick from Dave. Dave, thanks for sharing, man. You are a fountain of information. What would we do without Dave? I'm going to check the comments here. Let's see. Scratchy Velcro. Fuzzy fuselage is just wrong. I agree. You got to have the hook on the fuselage. I did it that way because here's why I did it. You guys want to hear? Here's the insight into the John mind. When I first started flying and I had to make the decision, do I put the hook down or the loop down? Here's what I thought of. I thought that when I went to the field and flew my airplanes, that there would be a good chance that somehow dust and dirt would get kicked up and it would get caught in here. And if you've ever had to pick a piece of grass out of one of these or dirt or whatever, it just annoys the living daylights out of you. But on this one, the hook, this is the hook. If you have to pick something out of there, you just kind of scratch it and it goes ping and it flies off and it's gone. So that's why I decided when I started flying that the hook goes on the model, because on the battery, you're not inside the model trying to scratch it out. On the battery, you could just peel it off, throw another one in, or scratch it off with your finger when it's out of the plane and it's not in the way. That's why I did it that way. That's the real reason. That's the insight. That's exactly what happened. That's how I decided that that's the way it was going to be. Airhammer's here. He said, I'd set the brake system up on a momentary switch and toggle it a few times to slow it down. I've seen them burn up on a toggle switch. Yeah, you know, I think the problem with, no, it's not going to be a toggle. It'll be a slider. But I think one of the problems is that you don't have to slam it into, it's like brakes on a car, right? Why you don't have to jam the brake all the way down. So you can set the PPM US value all the way you want. I just add a curve where it just adds a little bit of tension. We're not going to need a lot of brakes here, right? It's fairly small. And I'm not bad at hitting the runway. I'm not too bad. Jerry Gunn says the hooks are more durable than the loops. Loops break. Okay. Okay. All right. If you say so. I haven't inspected that close, so I'll have to take your word for that, Jerry. Okay. All right, let's see. What's next? That was the video, gender benders. Okay. Oh, heat shrink. All right, I wanted to show you guys this because somebody asked about 12S batteries, and I did a PilotJam where I showed you guys how I built these, but I just wanted to show you first off that there are two now. So I've got two of them. I've got the 12S extensions. I've got my dongle for my charger. I kind of keep them with the battery. That way I always know wherever I go I can charge, right? So I keep them with the battery. But these are my 12S packs for the helicopter. This is for the Il Goblin Pro. And I made these. These are China Hobby Line 6S5000s. And I did all the work to solder them together. Love this system, by the way. If you fly 12S and you haven't done this yet, you're going to kick yourself when you decide to do it. It's so worth the investment. It didn't take me that long. It's like, it took me maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour to build each one of these, and they're done. So now when I go fly my Il Goblin Pro, I just have to take the dongle off. I drive this in. I'm good to fly, man, and I absolutely love it. But the reason that I brought these out tonight was to show you, okay, well, why are we talking about heat shrink? It's because when you make these, you got to have heat shrink to heat shrink the whole thing together. One thing I'll mention too, I also found on BK Hobby's website, if you look under the Tron hardware, they have carbon fiber plates meant for a 12S pack. I bought a pack of those. They come in a set of 2, and each one of these sticks has that carbon fiber plate on the bottom. And I use double-sided tape for the battery to the plate. So when I remove these, they don't twist and torque, and it won't jostle my wiring around, okay? So there is I forgot to mention that in the build video. So there is a carbon fiber plate under these. And of course, the heat shrink helps keep that together as well. It keeps the carbon fiber plate and double-sided tape connected to both batteries. It just kind of keeps everything into one hard functional piece if you do remove it from the battery tray. Okay, that's that clarification. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because some people have asked me, like, how, where's the heat shrink? And my answer is it's in the description. So if you need 6S5000 heat shrink, here it is. It's fairly wide stuff. These are the 6S5000s that I use. This heat shrink slides right over top. When you're ready to heat it up, you leave, I don't know, maybe about a ½ an inch hanging off the back. Hit the back first, and then once it kind of folds over and grabs on and makes that little picture for you, then you just finish the rest of the battery. Just go all the way down and do the rest of it, and it works out just fine. So this heat shrink, it's white. I did white, obviously, because I'm using China Hobby Line batteries. That's my brand. They sponsored the channel. That's the battery I use. So I used white, and I put a little decal on there to show. They didn't. I asked them for this one, and these come with the batteries. They don't set those out on the side. I really wish they'd send me some of these, because I would put them on right here. But anyway, they don't. Alas, they don't. So I just took a decal that came in the box. But anyway, heat shrink for 6L5000s. A lot of people have asked me. I've gotten DMs on this. I've seen them in the comments. I've had about 4 emails. I guess it's a challenge finding it. I don't know. In the description, 6L5000 heat shrink right there. And if you want to change your color, so say you're flying something like a helicopter and you want to change the color of your battery, say it's yellow and you want to make it white or black, you can do that. You can get a heat shrink and do that. So it's out there. It's out there in the description. Sorry, when it comes to 12S batteries, the last thing I want to do is damage those. So I'm very, very careful about those. All right, next up is Q&A. I'm checking the comments here. Let's see. Mr. FMG says, great idea. I guess that's the gender bender, right? Johnny says, none of my batteries have Velcro. I use kitchen shelf matting material and 2 straps. Haven't lost a battery yet. I used to do that. I used to use the Uma grip until it took out a raw 580, and then I stopped doing that. Everything now either gets taped or Velcroed. So I will not fly anything. Helicopter, fixed wing, nothing. In a helicopter, it gets tape, double-sided tape, and in a fixed wing, it gets Velcro, for sure. Airhammer says, I'd set the brake system up on... Oh, we covered that. Jerry says the hooks are more durable. Oh, we covered that. I may make my own Lion 6S 18650 packs for my quads. Yeah, do it. Get a spot welder. My spot welder video gets a lot of hits, too, by the way. All right, let's get into Q&A. That's what's next. Can you believe it? What time is it? It's 20 after. Man, we moved through a lot of material quickly today. That's impressive. Okay. Let's see. We're at the first question. Okay. Well, they say bigger is better. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say that's what she said. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Anyway, yeah, the bigger, we talked about this last week on the airframe discussion, right? My rule pretty much right now is fly the biggest thing you can afford to crash. And I know a lot of people say that. It sounds pithy, maybe glib, but it's real. The bigger the model, the better they fly. It's just the way it is. Sorry. I don't know what else to say. They just fly better. The bigger ones, they fly better. So fly big, man. Fly big. Fly the biggest model you can afford to crash. I'll tell you what. Let's go back to that question for a second, because I had this discussion last week in the airframes discussion, but I wanted to make a point about this. Helicopters, same thing. The bigger the helicopter, the better it flies. So if you have the ability to fly a bigger model, do it. But here's the conversation we had at the field last week. The conversation went something like this. If you came to me and said, I have to downsize, I have to lose my garage and I have to downsize, and I could keep 2 models, what would they be? They'd be the 78-inch NG and the Il Goblin 700 Pro. Those would be the 2 I'd keep. They're the biggest ones I have. I still have the 85-inch NG, which, by the way, that's going to Dave. Dave's going to be flying the 85-inch NG, so I'll have the laser. But right now my answer would be revised. I'd keep the 85-inch laser, and I'd keep the 700 Il Goblin Pro. Those would be the 2 that I would keep. The biggest ones, and it's not because they're the biggest. It's because they're the biggest, they fly the best. That's why I'd keep them. Okay. All right, let's see. Mosoisa? Is that right? Mosoisa. Hi, I was unable to find some of your past videos. Is there a single link to access all of your videos? Well, it is funny you asked that question. Let me show you. We'll go back to the workspace, and I brought this view up. So on the YouTube channel, go to YouTube/RC Video Reviews. There's a link right here, right here. If you guys look, this is right here, videos. This is when you go to RC Video, you go to YouTube/RC Video Reviews, you get this home page. But if you click on the videos page, you can see everything that I've posted. It's all here. And then on top of that, I also add playlists. So if you want, you can say, oh, he's got a rotor flight playlist. So if you hit view, you can click on it and see all the rotor flight videos I did in one place. They're all there. Isn't that cool? And then if you wanted to look at EdgeTX snippets, they're here. If you want to look at EdgeTX guides and tutorials, whoops, that was wrong. I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do is hit view the full playlist. Now I can see all the videos that I did for EdgeTX. They're all here. All in one place. Isn't that convenient? So, yeah, I've got the videos. All the videos are here. And then you can click on playlists to get a look at the playlists. Okay? Okay. Just helping out with the navigation on YouTube. A little bit of nav help there. All right. Carlos says, well done. It's impossible to put too much excitement into content like this. You're simply doing what had to be done. You did it well. But like what you spoke about at 3020, that's cool in so many ways. I had to run to find my cat and plaster her. That one feature has countless uses. He's talking about using the inputs, allowing the pots to be used as an input. So the dynamic rates and expo that I covered, that's what he's talking about. So yeah, that RC1 video, that gets a lot of hits. If you guys are on EdgeTX, I recommend you catch those. Catch that video. Go watch it. It's what I try and do there is it's called a reconciliation, right? I kind of balance I take a radio with the last firmware and a radio with the new firmware, put them side by side on the desk and go through everything and show what's changed. So it's a cool video if you haven't seen it. I'd recommend it. Check it out. Carlos liked it. Let's see. NVR Moore, he says, hopefully with 4.0 we get a TX16 replacement finally. Okay. First off, I'm going to say I agree. I have no idea what the next radio is going to be from Radio Master, so don't ask. I don't know. And even if I did know, I couldn't answer. But that said, I definitely think it's time for the successor to the TX16S. I'm hoping to see that soon, hopefully this year. But one thing I have to point out, though, is that 4.0, just keep in mind, Express LRS, their release cycle is not related to the hardware release cycle. So just keep that in mind, okay? 4.0, maybe they'll coincide. It's possible, but they're not necessarily tied together, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it makes sense. Ghost Rider says, hey, I'm a beginner. This is one of my favorite questions of the week. I used a 10x4.5 prop on the motor with the recommended 40 amp ESC. It was flying well for 3 minutes at 70% throttle. All of a sudden, it went down and crashed. The motor was piping hot. The ESC was warm as well. Could it be due to high current draw? Well, a 945 prop solved the issue. Man, you guys have got to get a watt meter. Now, I think this would be a fun little quiz. I'm going to talk about this for a minute, but I'm going to ask you guys, so the experienced guys pipe in. What would be your first follow-up question? What would be your first follow-up question? My first follow-up question, I'll tell you what it is in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about this problem. It starts out with the idea that you can't just say, well, sticking a 945 prop solved the issue, because I'm not sure we know what the issue is yet. The second thing is, when I look at these motors, the first thing that I try and understand is current and recommended voltage. Although voltage is a little bit of a misnomer, because the motor doesn't care. It'll have something to do with how fast it's designed to spin. So more voltage, more spinny, more RPMs, right? You know that. It's connected to kV. Voltage is the motive force, and kV is a multiplier of voltage. So you multiply those together, you get an idea of what your RPM is, right? So they're determinant factors. So yeah, don't know. The question I would ask, I didn't see anybody follow up, right? I didn't see anyone follow up, so I'm going to give the answer. The answer is, he didn't tell me what his voltage is. He didn't tell me if he's using 2S or 3S or 4S, right? It's a 2836 motor for Mike. But that's a problem, because while the spec may say you can use up to a 10x4.5 prop, if you pair that to a 4S battery, you are definitely going to cook this motor, right? The amp rating of the ESC is 40 amps. So the two questions I would have would be, number one, what voltage did you use? Number two, on the voltage chart, the voltage recommendation for the motor, what size prop did they say you should use with that voltage? That's the second question. And then third, you got to determine if that voltage and that prop work for your ESC. So is your ESC able to support it? And then the fourth thing is put it on a watt meter and test it. So first off, I highly encourage that you go out and mess around with motors and props and, change your combos. This is how you learn. But you have to be fact-based about it. So the KV is 1100 kV in this case, which, off the top of my head, I'd say a 9-inch prop. But anyway, the answer to the question is, first off, tell me how much voltage you have, right, first. And then we see if that voltage, if the prop size is supported by that voltage, because it works. This particular motor will support a 10.45 prop on 2S. That's fine, but my guess is he's probably at 3S or 4S. So that's the first question. Then, make sure the amperage rating on your ESC marries up to the power output based on your voltage and prop size, and then do the test. Put your watt meter on it and validate it for yourself and make sure everybody's happy. So that's that. That's the answer. Okay. Thomas Brock says, carbon, this is one of my favorites, man. Everybody loves this one. Carbon is conductive and will block radio signals. You may need to bring antenna to the exterior of the airplane. That way carbon won't be blocking receiver signal path. That's my suggestion. Everyone wants to be helpful, and here's the deal. If you take the active element and stuff it inside a carbon tube, you're definitely going to attenuate your signal. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But the problem is that these antennas are not inside a carbon tube. Is there carbon nearby? Yes, there is. But do you have any idea how hard it is to attenuate a line of sight signal on Express LRS just because you have a carbon spar in the vicinity of the active element? It's just not a thing. Not only that, the hybrid fusion methods they use, it's not all carbon. I've been told it's fiberglass. So, and I don't think fiberglass may attenuate some, but it's not a blocker. I did a little test not too long ago. I was working on attenuation, and I was trying to get RSSI to drop to a level. And I had the worst time making it happen, so much so that I even took the receiver and put it inside a steel pot with a lid on it. I still couldn't attenuate the damn signal. So I appreciate the idea. It half-lives. We know that. RF half-lives, right? We get it. So we certainly lost some, but it wasn't measurable, right? It wasn't a measurable outcome. So I understand why people say carbon is definitely an attenuator. We're not arguing that point. But just because you have carbon in the vicinity of an active element, that doesn't mean you've attenuated anything. So keep in mind that if you look at these models, they're mostly shrink wrap, right? That's the biggest. It's like skin on a body, right? It's the largest organ. It's mostly shrink wrap. And then, sure, you've got some balsa in there. You've got some reinforced balsa in there. But you can pretty much put those antennas. And if you, oh, by the way, if you have the antennas 90 degrees out on two different planes, you really should never lose signal. Just don't stuff them inside a carbon tube is what I would say. I know people are trying to help, but I've done this kind of testing. It's not a thing. All right, 3Girl Rumba 3. I don't use expo or dual rates, but the function of doing so on the fly is outstanding. That's not even a strong enough word. I agree. That's such a really cool feature, man. There's just so cool. So cool. Such a cool feature. And I'm really happy that those inputs are all available now. Very, very cool feature. I'm telling you, man, that 2.11, that's going to get a lot of people excited. All right, what happens if I accidentally erase the SD card contents? You know, I get this is another question. I don't know what it is about the SD card, man. It's like, what is it with the SD card on EdgeTX? I cannot get away from it. Everybody is curious about the SD card. Let me show you guys. Here's what I do. It seems like, okay, first off, what I would say, before you monkey around with your SD card, back it up first. Take a copy, put it on your desktop, and then you can do whatever you want. But if you have a problem with your SD card, you can always go back to buddy.edgetx.org, hit the drop-down list, pick your firmware and your radio model. Pick whatever it is you've got. Let's say in my case, Radio Master TX16S. And then you can, where is the SD card content? Here it is. Instructions are right here. SD card is editor still in development. Power on your device. Connect it to the computer. Once connected, select the SD card, and then you'll be able to download and reinstall. That's one way to do it. So Buddy will help you restore your SD card contents. Another way to do it is if you go to EdgeTX on GitHub, you can, right here, this folder right here, just click on it. And then you can click on this, and this will show you for 2.10.5 the SD card pack. And it's right here. You can download it for any radio. It's right here on the GitHub. You can restore it. And then in addition to that, you can also add the stock sounds right here. The SD card sounds, you can add those as well. So it's always easy to restore. You can either do it on the GitHub or you can do it on Buddy, which I navigated away from. So EdgeTX, buddy.edgetx.org. Okay. You can do that or go down to the GitHub and grab it from there. All right. That's it on that one. Let's see what's next. What is a sticky switch? They say this is a good radio to start out with, but it has too many options. I disagree. I respectfully disagree. I submit there are no such thing as too many options. And my argument would be, if you get out on this, there's a website out there called google.com, and you can type in fact, let's just have a little fun with it. Why don't, this is one of the questions that make me want to use that, let me Google that for you thing. But let's just, for the hell of it, let's just type in, what is EdgeTX sticky switch? I'm just curious to see what Google knows about it. In EdgeTX, a sticky switch is a typological switch that essentially sticks to the on state once activated by a condition and remains active until another defined condition, V2, is met. It's like a toggle switch where the on and off states can be controlled by a separate switch action. Stays true even if the initial activating switch is released, requiring a separate switch to turn it off. That's pretty damn good to me. I don't think I could have said it any better. But, I mean, is this a problem? Like, do people not understand? Like, I'm not a personal Google. You know, like, I mean, I like to help people, but give me a question, you know, and I'll talk to you. But if you're asking me to be your personal Google, I'm not gonna answer that. You guys got, you know, come on, use Google, man. It's and I would disagree. There's no such thing as too many options. If you don't want to use a sticky switch, then frickin' don't. You know what I mean? Don't do it. Stop using it. If you don't know what it is, don't want to use it, then don't. You don't have to. I've done videos on this radio where I've showed you can set up an airplane in 4 clicks. Like, so it's, I mean, how much more simple you need it to be? Okay. Let's see. Cinema Raya says, "Well, I lose all my models and settings if I upgrade." I replied to this one. I said, when I did the video, the video showed one radio with 2.11 and the other video with 2.10.5. And the prior radio was obviously not on 2.11 at some point, and I upgraded to 2.11, and then I did a video showing the Avanti Jet and the sticky switch in the video with all the settings. So, I mean, the video evidence was there. No, it does not blow away your models and settings. I would also say that none of the EdgeTX firmwares blow away your models and settings. And I forget the version numbers. I don't keep track of them anymore because it's so far behind us now. It's like a year and a half behind us. There was a time when we came from OpenTX that we were using bin files for our model settings, and they had in EdgeTX firmware, they would convert your bin file to a YAML file for you. That has since been removed. I think they removed that, I want to say in 2.8. So if you're on 2.8 or later, you can upgrade with impunity, right? Because there's no problem. If you went from, say, OpenTX to 2.10, the problem with that would be nothing would convert your binary files for you. It didn't delete them, but it wouldn't convert them. So you'd think you had no models on your radio, which is not true. You do have models on your radio. They just can't be read by EdgeTX. So you can convert them using Companion, or you can stop at a version that did have the YAML converter in it. So you can go from OpenTX to, say, EdgeTX 2.8, and then from 2.8 to whatever you want. So I don't really understand this question. It just never dies. It never goes away. And I guess that's one of the downsides of taking, a conversion from bin to YAML, because people, if you went from OpenTX to 2.10, then yeah, you turn your radio on and you wouldn't have any models there, and you'd say, what the hell's going on? And I guess if you're new, you'd think that you lost stuff, but you really didn't, because it doesn't, to my knowledge, it doesn't delete your bin files. It just ignores them. It just flat out ignores them. So that would be my answer. I'm going to check comments here. If you 3D print with carbon chop filament, it will attenuate real good too. Yeah, like if the whole plane is carbon filament, yes, of course. Of course. I've been using ChatGPT. It has been good to ask via Google. Yeah, ChatGPT is good. And a lot of the responses are coming from AI as well. Let's see. Are the AGO1 gimbals for TX16S worth the upgrade from stock gimbals? That's a hard question to answer. That depends. I like them. I would. Riz FPV says, I flew a quad completely made of aluminum, no issues signal unless you put the antenna inside. See, there it is, inside a Faraday cage. Unfortunately, I wish I could say, no, it's not worth it. That would be a lie in my case. Yeah, the AGO1s again. Johnny says, EdgeTX and ELRS can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. That's why I love it. If you can think of it, you pretty much, that's exactly correct, man. Johnny's got he's got the right idea. You can make it easy. You can make it hard. You don't have to do all this crazy stuff, right? When I do the videos, it's just to show people how to do it. Now, whether or not you use it, that's up to you. That's up to you. All right, Hobie, you finally made it. Evening all. Sorry I'm late. You're way late, dude. What happened? Congrats, Bill, on being first. Helps when you're retired. Remember, we got the whole work versus retired thing going on now. We're in camps, are we? Okay, I see. All right, let's get back to the job here. Alan Toslin says, it's going to be a pleasure to use. Drives me nuts scrolling through hundreds of sounds to find the one I need. He's referring to the fact that they added the filter. So when you bring up the file pop-up, the file manager pop-up, they now have the filter using the characters so you can quickly get to where you're going. That was a great addition. So Alan, good call out on that one. I was really happy to see that too. And I also agree they need to set a format on how each page is set out all the best. Yeah, there's a lot of movement in the graphics right now, and I made my point in the video. I'm not going to belabor it here, but yeah, they got to try and get those sizes standardized and just leave them alone. Pencils down. All right, color screens suck up lots of power. This is another one of my favorite kinds of comments. Random 269. Color screens suck up lots of power. Okay. I mean, how do you react to this? Like, my answer would be, as opposed to what? A black and white screen? Okay. Has anyone stuck? I haven't done it, but I would be curious. Has anyone stuck an ammeter on their Boxer and their TX16S to measure the difference? So and let's define lots of power, right? What does lots of power mean? So if the color radio was at 0.8 amps or 0.6 amps and the Boxer was at 0.4, would that, and that's double, you're going from 0.4 to 0.8. Is that lots of power? I don't know. Maybe it is. But let's put it in context. In context, when I take this battery, and I just happen to have it sitting here, but let's take a look at it. When I take that battery, it's an Race Day Quads 5,000 milliamp battery, and I charge it up, and I put it in my TX16S, I can go fly that radio for about 4 days before having to charge it again. So I see these kinds of comments, and it just makes me scratch my head like, what is the point in making a comment like that? Like, first off, you haven't defined lots of power. Second, is it meaningful? I don't think it is. Third, maybe I guess, you know, maybe if you're out flying long range missions and your flights are lasting you 2 hours at a crack, maybe. But I mean, at least give some context. But what I would say is that, you know, with the simple 2S5000 battery, I can fly for like 3-4 days. So I just don't understand the value of a comment like that. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Next Gen RC, he says, imagine having a jet where you could set the weight of your aileron to be an elevator to be derived from the model's airspeed. I could imagine automatic evolving dual rates depending on how fast you're flying. I'd want to set up a way to disable that on the fly if needed. Now, let's go back to... I love you guys, man. I love you guys, man. Let me go back to this and what right in here. There's a video that I did. If you do a search, it's called Dynamic Dual Rates. It's right here. Dual rates for fast movers. Works with Copilot, SR6, S6R, S8R, Betaflight 9F. So the idea behind that is that fast movers. The idea behind... Now, the problem here is how would you know to search for that? I knew to search for it because I made the video. That's the problem. But yeah, this is dynamic dual rates for fast movers. I did that video, so it's out there. That content has been out there for a while. So if you guys are interested, I guess what I'm saying is go to my channel and look. It's there. I can't stress enough how many times I get a question where people say, hey, you know, what? Well, let's go back to it. I don't understand this business about weights and expo. And I said, like, okay. Oh, and by the way, that I told you guys on how to change weight and expo with a knob or a slider. Remember, I made a big deal in the video, the 2.11 video about it, but I did a video on how to do it in the prior version. It's right here. So it's right there. So it's there. Now the good thing is now, so other people said, well, wait a minute. What if I don't ever want to go up to 100%? That's a good point. If you're on expo, do you really want 100% expo? I don't. That's a lot. Even on a 3, that's a lot. So how do you govern that? And if you watch the video, it'll show you how to govern that. It'll teach you. Now, is it the same exact setup you use on 2.11? No, it's not. But if you watch the video, you'll say, oh, now I know how to govern my endpoints. Now I can apply that to my pot and I'm good to go. You'll know how to do it. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is go to the channel and look. Part of the reason I don't do a lot of EdgeTX videos in the current time frame is because I've already done all the EdgeTX videos. They're all there. And I haven't really found a reason yet to go back and rewrite or reproduce some of these how-to videos because a lot of the material is still relevant. Now, that said, some of the OpenTX stuff is definitely getting long in the tooth. There's no doubt about that. No doubt. But the EdgeTX stuff, it's all pretty... it's still pretty usable. Still pretty usable, I would say. That'd be my argument. And by the way, you know, I'm trying to share. There's a big library of information out there, but you also help me out with the juicy YouTube money. You know, you watch the videos and watch the videos. It helps the channel out with the, you know, with the scratch. You know what I'm saying? You got to help out a little bit. I already did the work. It's all there. Go check it out. It's there. It's there. I did it. Did the work. All right. That's the end of the Q&A. All right. Let's see. We'll go back to the desktop. We're going to check out comments. Let's see. Screen won't draw near as much as the RF module. Exactly. Hobie, remember, guys, if you like what John does, want to help, please join Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That sounds like me. Good job, Hobie. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me throw that out there too. I want to make sure, because I don't do it enough, I want to say thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you. The list of patrons is up top right there. I don't do all of the patrons because the list is long, and I want the newer patrons to have their names scroll by, so that's why I just kind of keep it listed to like the 20 or 20 most recent patrons. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for opening your wallets and helping the channel out. Very much appreciated. No question about it. And yeah, I have a tier for $3 a month. And by the way, all of that goes in. So we had a question. Airhammer said earlier, hey, we don't want to burn up brakes. Now, here's the deal. One of the reasons that I'll put brakes on this airplane is because of Patreon. So they help me get stuff like this. Now, I'll put it on there. I'll get it working, and then I'll tell you how I did it. I'll say, here's how I got my brakes to work, right? I'll explain it in the video. And that's why patrons matter. Without patrons, I wouldn't do this. I probably would have just said, to hell with it. I'll put a reversing ESC on there, or I'll just land and use my flaps and my elevator as air brakes, right? And deal with it. That's what I probably would have done. But I do this stuff because of patrons. So thanks to the patrons for helping out. I appreciate you guys. Oh, and this too. This is another one, right? If it were just me, I probably would have just went along with the BEC on the ESC and call it a day. If it was just my plane, that's probably what I would have done. But I know some people are curious, like, hey, if I have more current draw, is this a usable device? And so I'm going to put it on my plane, and I'm going to find out, and I'm going to tell you. I will tell you what I learned. So patrons are the ones that help. Patrons are the ones that help do that. So I appreciate you, Hobie, for doing that. Thanks for reminding me. Zeph says, I like your humor. Google it. I don't mind answering questions. I really don't. But it's like, if you're asking a question that Google will answer in 1 second, come on. You took more time to ask me that question, and then I take time to stop and answer it, then you could have just typed it in Google and got your answer. I'm not. There's a joke I heard. It was a guy sitting in a restaurant with his wife. And he said, hey, do I like the Caesar salad here? And he said, do I like the chicken here? And she said, yeah, you like the chicken. He goes, oh, okay, good. He goes, the reason we keep these women around is there are personal information systems, right? There are personal shopper and personal Google. And then he said to her, do I like the Caesar salad here? And she said, no, you don't like the Caesar salad here. It's got anchovies. You hate anchovies. And he said, hey, listen, I just need the information, not the attitude. So when I get these questions, I want to be like, I'm going to give some attitude. Like, come on, man, hit Google. Geez, what the heck? All right. Mr. FMG says, I've learned a lot about Edge and Express LRS from John. Well, I'm glad to hear that. He was the first channel I started to follow. I still go back and watch, remind me of things I forget. Yeah, I do too. I watch my own videos, especially when I'm doing a rotor flight setup. I watch my own videos while I'm doing the setup. So yeah, no doubt. Hobie says, John is some of the easiest videos to follow, some of the most information. Please, seriously. Oh, I appreciate you, Hobie. Man, Hobie's such a great fan of the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane. All right. I think I'm caught up on comments, and that brings us to the end. So coming up, we covered the coming up, right? The coming up is the jet. I can't wait to fly the Avanti. First off, let's be clear. The Avanti, I've flown a lot of jets. I've had a lot of, FMS has sent me a lot of stuff. BitGo Hobbies sent me some stuff. I've flown a lot of jets. I bought some of my own. I can tell you guys that the Avanti, that's a champion jet. I will be really curious to see how the composite version does. So, out of all the EDFs I've flown to date, my favorite is the 80 millimeter Avanti, not the 90, the 80. And the reason for that is because the 80 is almost as big as the 90. It presents well in the sky. It has like 6.5 minutes of flight time, depending on how hard I'm beating on it. So superb flight time, superb aerobatic skills, looks fantastic in the sky, flies like it's being flown by a computer, and it lands like a butterfly. It's just absolutely a spectacularly good EDF. Now, I'm praying that the composite is just as good. I hope it is, because it's not a cheap endeavor to get this one. So I'm praying that the composite Avanti is just as good. Although, 90 millimeters 8S, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not sure how it's going to work out yet. We're going to find out. So yeah, the Avanti, that's coming up. And then the laser, as always, I've told you guys, laser spectacular airframe. We got to get that one built, and we'll get that in the air as soon as possible. So those are the what's coming videos, and I'll probably get some first look videos out for you soon too. So we'll do a little bit of an unbox. We'll check out the Avanti. I wanted to wait for the EDF to show up on the Avanti. All right, so that should be here tomorrow, which means I'll have everything I need to do an unbox video. And then the other thing I want to say about the laser, I will do the unbox video, but you will not get to see the motor. The motor is a secret, top secret. So no motors. I won't answer questions about the motor, but I will show you everything else that's going on. Okay, so we'll do a first look video on the laser as well. So that's what's coming up. A couple of first look videos, and then the Avanti and the laser flying. No flight videos this week because the field is closed due to a DLG event. Can't do that. So I'm a little bit bummed, man. I guess tomorrow I have to do videos and work. So no flying for John. Kind of bummed. But that brings us to the end of the PilotJam. I don't see any other questions that I need to answer, so that means we're at a fantastically good stopping point. I hope you enjoyed the PilotJam tonight. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you get out there and fly something. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy.